Hello guys, Anthony from Tennis Warehouse. Today we are at the Monte Carlo Country Club and we're gonna test the Technifibre T-Fight 2025. The Technifibre team is already on the court with the rackets, so let's check it out.
Run it up.
Hey Mathieu.
Hey Anthony, good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for coming. Super excited and happy to have you here. Beautiful club, nice weather.
Mathieu, I would like that you talk a little bit about the racket and
sure.
the differences between this model, the new model 2025, and the previous model.
What we did with this new T-Fight for 2025, it's basically two changes. Number one, we wanted to give to the racket a bit more power, a bit more pop. So what we did is, we still have the same shape of the racket, the RS section, which is a mix of square and round section, but we made it a bit thicker, a bit more bulky.
Okay, so you change a little bit the geometry.
The geometry is a bit bigger, and because it's bigger, it's a bit stiffer, and it brings a bit more power. So that's the first change that we did.
Okay.
And the second change that we did is we redistributed the weight of the racket, basically more towards the middle. Okay, the consequence is that it reduces the swing weight. Concretely, what this means is because the weight is more in the middle, the racket is easier to swing, easier to maneuver, so you get more speed. Okay, so basically more power, more speed, but still the same trademark of the T-Fight, the perfect mix of power and control. So a very all-around racket that anyone can play with, basically.
Another question, like you said, you changed the repartition of the mass on the racket.
Of the weight,
Does it mean that the balance is not the same anymore?
Okay, so basically when you change the weight distribution, you can do it without changing the balance, okay?
Okay.
But what we did here is, we changed the weight distribution, and also on some rackets, we have reduced a little bit the balance, just a little bit, so it adds to this feeling of more speed, more maneuverability in your swing. But the key element is more on the swing weight than on the balance. That's the real difference. And when you take it in your hand, you can feel it, so the balance remains, in the middle.
Okay.
But it feels completely different, much lighter.
Okay, and I would like to know how many samples do you develop, for example, for one SKU, one model?
So for one model, we start, as I said, with this very specific brief that we have. I would say it's 4 or 5 iterations with the factories, especially on the T-Fight, where we're so demanding, and as I described, we knew exactly what we were looking for. So there was no concession if it was not exactly what we wanted.
Okay.
So I think we made 5 iterations, and for each iteration, I would say we have for one racket between 4 and 5 samples so that we can test it internally.
Okay.
We can also distribute the rackets to some of our testers, to top players on tour, to beginners as well, to have a lot of feedback at each level of the development to make sure that we have exactly what we need to make everybody happy.
And you have something technical to test the racket, to compare?
Yeah, of course. So when we test the rackets internally, we use the TrackMan.
The TrackMan.
So the challenge that we have with tennis is that it's all about sensations. So when you develop a product, your sensation might be different than mine, okay? So that's tough to manage. So what we have is we use the TrackMan. So it's a radar technology that we put at the back of the court.
Yeah.
And basically it's like a camera that films you, and when you play on each stroke, you get 20 data points on each stroke. So you have the speed, the spin, the net clearance, the precision, where you contact the ball, all of these things. So you can very objectively compare two rackets with each other. So when we have the playtest, we know exactly what we're looking for versus the old T-Fight.
Okay.
So at each step, we compare it to the TrackMan to make sure that we are in the right direction. For example, we wanted to make sure that this new T-Fight gave a bit more power than the old T-Fight, and that's something that we could measure on the TrackMan.
So it's giving you a kind of validation.
Exactly, scientific validation.
Okay.
And then we also put it in the hands of testers to make sure that the data matches with your sensations. Because if I come to you and I say it's more powerful but you don't feel it, you're not going to be happy, right? So I want both to work. So that's how that's why we work like this.
By the way, we have plenty of demo racket at Tennis Warehouse, so
exactly,
I invite you to really try the racket. So
it's very important for us to put the racket in people's hands.
If there is one to test, really the 300 grams and 100 square inches.
Exactly. And basically, if you come from control-oriented rackets with thinner sections, like it's going to be you a bit more pop, a bit more power, but still very stable, and you're going to feel a lot the ball, so you should be comfortable with the racket. And if you come for more powerful rackets, you will still have this pop effect that you like, but it can bring you a bit more control. So I mean, for almost every player out there, it's definitely something that you should try.
Okay, that's perfect. And I think that you prepare different rackets for the test.
Of course.
Can you explain what we're gonna do?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is, so we have the new T5 here,
Yeah.
different models. So you have the 305S, so it's the small head size in 18 mains. So you're gonna be able to test both, so the new 300 and the 305S. And we also brought the old T-Fight to compare, because as I said, it's not only a paint job, it's really a completely new racket.
Yeah.
And it was important for us that you can feel the difference. And what I said, that it's just not only me talking, but you can feel it on court, that you can feel a bit more power, and most importantly, a bit more maneuverability, easier to swing, easier to play.
Okay, I'm excited to try and to go on the court.
All right.
Thank you for all this information.
Thank you so much.
And now let's try.
Let's go on court. Vamos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Today I was super excited to take part of this playtest because first we are going to try the new Technifiber 2025, but also we are in a good environment like crazy because we are in Monte Carlo Country Club.
I was lucky to try both rackets, the previous one and the new one, the T-Fight 2025, and to feel exactly the differences on the court between these two rackets.
If I talk about the racket, first I will talk about the design. I will like this because they kept the DNA from the brand since a long year. It's still white, but glossy also, so we can recognize the racket from anywhere.
The design, the paint, now it's shiny, glossy, so it makes it maybe a little bit more elegant, and we don't have the fingerprint like on the previous model.
If I talk about the improvement from the racket, first, this is the mass repetition. It's super important for me because they drop a little bit the swing weight, so I get more maneuverability on the racket. And I really felt it on the court. I can put more spin easily, and also I can find some spot on the court more easily than before. So this point is improved, and I really like this fact.
What I felt compared to the previous model, it's really the change about the mass repartition. It means that in the new one, the mass is really more to the heart of the racket. So it's really easy to swing in the air. Before, we kept the same balance, but the weight was on the handle and also on top of the racket. But really, when I swing at one racket after the other, the new one was really easier. It's like a little bit lighter on the end. So it's making the game easier, especially when you play the return, the volley. And I was surprised about the extreme shot, the cross court and things like this. I was able to find some really extreme angle thanks to this racket. So it's, I would say, a perfect mix between control and power.
To conclude, I recommend this racket for people that want to be aggressive on the court, but also that people that want to be counter-attacker. If you want to try this racket, please don't forget that we have a demo program, and when you are going to try this racket, you are going to love it. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more information, please visit us on Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe and Tennis Only.